Troy Planning Commission. Copies of the agenda for tonight's meeting are available at the entrance to the room. Additionally, the agendas and minutes of prior meetings are available on the city's website. The meeting will be conducted in accordance with the agenda as presented or amended by the Planning Commission. The roles and responsibilities of the Planning Commission are outlined on the reverse side of tonight's agenda. State law establishes planning commissions. The commission is comprised of 9 members, all of whom have volunteered to serve. Members are appointed by the mayor and confirmed by city council. The other individuals seated at the table this evening are representatives of the city's planning department, the city attorney's office, and the city's planning consultant, Carlisle Wortman Associates. If you wish to address the planning commission, please come forward and recognize and provide your name and address on the sign-in sheet. Please begin your remarks by stating your name for the benefit of the commissioners. All remarks are to be addressed to the planning commission and not to anyone else in the room. At this time, I ask that all cell phones, BlackBerries, PDAs, or any other devices that might disrupt the meeting, please either be placed in silent mode or be turned off. Ms. Zarnicki, the roll call, please.
Mr. Abhidian?
Here.
Ms. Cruz? Mr. Edmonds?
Yeah, here.
Mr. Faison?
Here.
Mr. Hudson?
Here.
Mr. Krant?
Here.
Ms. Krupa? Here. Mr. Zanzika? Mr. Tagle?
Item number 2 is the approval of the agenda. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda? Ms. Krupa, thank you. And seconded by Mr. Tagle.
Mr. Edmonds?
Yes.
Mr. Faison?
Yes.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
Mr. Krant?
Yes.
Ms. Krupa?
Yes.
Mr. Tagle?
Yes.
Mr. Abhidian?
Yes.
Agenda item number 3 is approval of minutes for the August 9th, 2016 meeting. Could I have a motion to,
I'll move
Mr. Krant, to approve? And seconded by Mr. Abhidian.
Mr. Edmonds?
Yes.
Mr. Faison?
Yes.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
Mr. Krant?
Yes.
Ms. Krupa?
Yes.
Mr. Tagle?
Yes.
Mr. Abhidian?
Yes.
Agenda item number 4 is public comment for items not on the agenda. Saying, is there anyone in the audience who wants to speak to an item that is not on the agenda? Seeing no one, we'll go on to agenda item number 5, preliminary site plan review. Preliminary site plan review, file number SP 1005. Proposed renovation of southeast corner of Rochester Road and Maple Road at 1010 East Maple. Section 34, currently zoned to IB, Integrated Industrial and Business District.
Thank you, and good evening to the Planning Commission. The applicant tonight is before us for a preliminary site plan approval for a building retrofit of the existing, or the former, Mickey Shore building located on the southeast corner of Rochester and Maple Road. The applicant was proposing to add a 500 square foot addition to the south end of the building to turn it into a drive-through use. The future user of the site has not been indicated. In addition to those improvements, the applicant does also propose to put in more landscaping, bring the site up to compliance with lighting, put a new facade on the building, as well as make some additional site improvements, including additional parking spaces as well. The existing access to the site will remain in 2 locations as currently shown on the site plan in front of you. One access will be off Maple Road, one access will be off Rochester, and those will not change. The site is zoned IB, which is Integrated Industrial Business District, and a drive-through use is considered an accessory use in that district, but does still require a site plan review by the Planning Commission. The existing building with the 500 square foot addition does comply with all the applicable IB regulations, and based on the use as a fast food or quick serve restaurant, the applicant is required to provide 16 spaces, which they have done so. However, we do know that they are deficient in 2 required bike parking racks, and so they will be required to provide that for approval. As noted with access, the 2 existing points will remain as is. The drive-through will flow around the south end of the building along to the east end of the building. It has been reviewed by the city's traffic engineer as well as the city's traffic engineering consultant. The applicant did provide a stacking study and circulation plan to those 2 departments and the consultant. OHM did review the plan and did find that the circulation and stacking is sufficient for the use. However, they did note that in the southeast corner of the site, along the curve of the building, it gets rather tight and narrow in that point. So a larger vehicle or larger SUV would have some trouble making that turn with the location of a proposed fence along this property line. It does meet ordinance requirements in terms of the width. However, they want to be, should be noted that the applicant should be aware that that is a very tight turning radius and could present some future issues in regards to that fence location. Because this is becoming a quick serve restaurant, there is the potential for increased pedestrian activity to the site and to the building, so pedestrian access is important. The applicant should add a dedicated pedestrian connection from both the sidewalk on Rochester as well as the sidewalk on Maple in turn to the site. In addition, as required by the ordinance, they are to increase the width of the Maple sidewalk and the Rochester sidewalk to 8 feet in width. And lastly, they need to extend the sidewalk on Rochester Road to the full length of the southern property line. As noted, the applicant is adding additional landscaping, and the landscaping does meet ordinance requirements. We do note that they have indicated a trash enclosure located along the Maple Road side elevation, middle of the site. However, they have not indicated any screening for that in terms of, other than landscaping, they have not indicated a masonry wall or a masonry screening or a gate. So those details should be provided for the final site plan. In addition, the applicant has not provided a photometric and lighting plan, and that again should also be submitted for final site plan approval. We do note the applicant is making a significant investment to the site itself and particularly to the building itself. They have submitted floor plans and elevation, and we want to commend them on the improvements they're making to the building. They're adding a new facade around the building, and they're adding a faux second story to add some massing and height to the building. The west and north elevations, which are adjacent to Maple and Rochester, have a significant amount of architectural detail and glass exposure. However, we do note that the east and southern end of the building, which are in the back end, have no architectural detail, and they are a solid brick wall, but they will still be viewable from both internal to the site as well as from the roads. So we do ask that the applicant add some architectural features to soften up that brick wall along those two elevations. So in summary, we do note the applicant is making a significant investment on the site and to the building itself, and we recommend preliminary site plan approval with the following items to be submitted as part of the final site plan. The first is provide a bicycle rack for at least 2 bicycles. The second is provide a striped pedestrian crossing from both the Rochester and Maple Road sidewalks. The third is increase the sidewalk width along Rochester and Maple to at least 8 feet in width. The fourth is extend the sidewalk to the southern property line along Rochester. The fifth is to provide elevations and material selections for the trash enclosure. The sixth is provide a lighting plan, and the seventh is to add architectural details to the south and east elevations. Thank you.
Any questions for the planning consultant? Yes, Mr.
Just a couple of brief comments, just to piggyback on Ben's presentation. You'll notice the zoning, underlying zoning here is IB, Integrated Industrial and Business. And if you remember in 2011, this would have been zoned M1, and drive-through restaurant would not have been permitted prior to the comprehensive rewrite. And this is the kind of project and the kind of property that we were thinking of as a planning commission when we wanted to take a market-driven approach to vacant properties and vacant buildings in the city. So it's an old Mickey Shore, and since the ordinance was updated, the planning commission's reviewed quite a number of drive-throughs. They've all been special uses except for this district. Tonight it's not a special use, it's site plan approval because we wanted it to be easier and fewer barriers for redevelopment. So this is in a way the type of project that we really kind of wanted to see, and so we're thankful that there's someone who's taken the initiative and invested in this property. I would note that when we look, generally speaking, when we see a resolution with a number of conditions, Planning Commission, and rightfully so, tends to want to postpone to give the applicant an opportunity to address the conditions. And that's within your purview to do that. I'm not saying do or don't, but in this instance, just for the record, I'm very comfortable with the types of conditions. I think that these are I don't want to, take any of the authority away from the planning commission, but if the planning commission were to advance this evening with a positive motion, we can handle these prior to final site plan approval.
Very good. Any other questions? Could we go back to the artist rendering there? Yeah. What is that wall in the back?
The
building is behind.
the
That's
project
an
architect.
existing building?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the floor covering store that's
Oh, okay,
located
okay, yeah.
just south on
The
Rochester.
carpet store, yes.
Yeah.
Mike Boggio, who's the project architect, is here, and I would just ask
Okay.
if we do engage Mr. Boggio in conversation, that he stand at the microphone so that they can pick up his comment.
Mr. Tagle, you had a comment?
I have a concern with the location of the trash enclosure. This is a fast food restaurant. After a certain number of months or years, these don't look very pretty. I don't know what they're going to be putting, what kind of gates they're going to be putting on it, or what kind of spillage is going to be when they dump the trash enclosure into the truck. But this is a very prominent location at this intersection, from the intersection. And I'm very concerned that this really is not a good location for that trash enclosure.
Let's ask the applicant about that, but I agree.
My name is Michael Boggio, I'm the architect on the project. And we look at the site, and as you can see, the site's a very compact site. Because it's because we want to have an outdoor patio, which we think is important these days in small restaurants such as this. And we envision this as a coffee shop, but yet there's no tenant that has signed the lease yet. So we can't say that it is. But in trying to locate the trash and trying to respect the fact that there's a patio, we certainly don't want to put trash near the patio. And as we looked at this, we thought, well, if we put the trash on the exit portion of the drive-through and do it with 6 or 8 foot high masonry walls and good opaque gates, and look at the construction of how we do the slab on the inside the trash enclosure, and realizing, at least is our thought, that it won't be the use while we're proposing a food type drive-in use, it won't be a greasy type of a use. But yet, if we look at the site, we thought, again, trying to take everything into consideration, the frontage on Maple, the frontage on Rochester, Long Lake, Rochester, and the patio and the other amenities on the site, we thought that this location, looking at the whole site, was the best location for it. As I said, we plan a masonry construction to match the building around the site with good metal opaque gates, so that and as you can see, a lot of landscaping around that enclosure also to soften the enclosure and also the other consideration is truck access to get to pick up the trash. And again, the site is so compact, no matter where we put it on site, it will be visible from somewhere, being on the corner. So again, we thought would be easiest, even though it's in the front yard, technically, it would be easiest to hide it there as somewhere else. And again, we feel that keeping the patio clean and away from the trash is a very important part of this project, so that's why it's located there.
I was out to the site too, and I have a concern about, I couldn't tell, I could see where you pick up the food on the drive-through lane. I don't see any station at all, or maybe I missed it, where you place your order. Where is that at?
That would be just before you turn the corner on the south side of the building.
Is that what that little rectangle is right there? That's right there? Is that what you're talking about?
No, that's a light, would be. Right here.
Okay.
Would be the menu report.
Yeah, Mr. Tagle.
What is the area just off of the southwest corner of the building? It's a circle with a line through it.
That's a,
Yep, right there.
that's a parking space.
For who?
It's just general parking. It's one additional parking space.
I'm sorry,
Yeah, it's right there.
it's indicates a loading space.
Loading, yeah, loading parking, right. I'm sorry, it is loading, not parking.
Is your question, John, what's this right here?
No, I was asking that
That space,
space.
okay.
It's loading, right here, loading
You
space.
know, again, I want to let the petitioner develop this property as they feel appropriate, but again, I'm very concerned with the location of that trash enclosure. I understand the masonry walls, but they're screened with landscaping. I'm not concerned with the masonry walls, I'm concerned with the front elevation of that trash enclosure and what that's going to look like in some period of time. And I was just wondering if there's any opportunities in the very southwest corner of the site, as opposed to hugging the stack-up lane quite as close as they do to the property corner, if that corner might be a more appropriate spot, if they were to, you know, move, give a little, take that tree out and put the trash, you know, reconfigure the geometry a little bit there and put the trash enclosure down there as opposed to where it's located. I just, you know, again, I'm concerned with what that's going to look like over a period of time. Trash enclosures get beat up, you know, and again, I don't know what kind of food service establishment is going in here, and so I have that concern.
Piggybacking on that, I'll just say too, I have real concern, especially, we have a lot of problems with trash enclosures that are not closed. The gates are always open. And I know that's something that probably code enforcement would take care of, but, you know, that's only when somebody complains about it, so. Let me just ask you, and I don't want to, why couldn't that trash enclosure even be pushed closer to that tree? Why does it have to be this close? Could it be farther north? And with the landscaping. It looks like there's room there, yeah. That's just something I'd like to see you take a look at anyway. Mr. Grant?
You know, looking at it, I agree with both commissioners that are talking about that trash container. It could become an eyesore. I'm wondering if you could show us some kind of gates for the front of that trash container that are architecturally significant and similar to the building, as opposed to typical gates that are floppy and not too good. So I just, you know, if you enhance that to make it even look like part of a building of that quality level, with the same functionality, I wouldn't object to having it at that location. Again, if it didn't look like a trash container, it looked like part of the building.
Certainly.
I think, Tom, to piggyback on to what Don's comments are, if that trash container or trash area was moved a little to the north and rotated 90 degrees so that the gates are not facing the public ways. They're facing people that are coming through the driveway. Now, that doesn't mean they shouldn't enhance the looks of the gate. They don't want their customers looking at necessarily a trash enclosure, but I think it would be an improvement over what I'm seeing here. I just don't want to see the gates to a trash enclosure fronting on Rochester and Maple Road.
So just so we're all on the same page.
I like that, it's a good suggestion. I
So
like that.
all on the same page, that would be, instead of the gates this way, they'd be
Right.
oriented more this way, so the turning movement is coming in here, picking it up, and then going up this way. So that you're seeing the side, the brick.
You're seeing the side of
Seeing
the
the
road.
brick.
Yeah.
Excuse me, but I think that the site's so tight that trying to rotate 90 degrees, I don't know if the truck could make it. What if we rotated 45 degrees to get, that way the truck could pull in, the gates aren't, you don't focus on the gates from Rochester Road and move it to the north, because there's more room to go north.
So the loading would, the truck would back in off of Maple Road to service that?
No, we coming off of Rochester
Straight in.
Road, go around,
Okay,
pick the trash, back up and then exit onto Maple Road.
okay,
So it'd be a 45-degree angle versus a 90.
yeah.
But again, with,
Not a bad idea.
yeah, but again, with, even then, with gates that are, because,
Well, yeah, because now it's gonna face the front of the building, so now see,
yeah, it
it doesn't
should,
face the road, but it's gonna go in right towards the front door of the building. So we wanna make sure that looks right.
I'd like, before we voted on it, I would like to see that in detail before I voted for this to approve.
Well, if we could write it into the conditions for approval, I'm okay with that, because I agree with Brent. I don't think these type of changes are, as long as they're written as part of the final site plan review, and I think it's okay.
All right.
We've got a lot of other things coming back
All right.
on our plate here.
I trust Brent's judgment on architecture.
Only if the planning commission's comfortable. I don't want to,
No, we-
you know, it's your decision.
Mr. Cagle?
Has there been any indication of what signage is going to be on the building, where it's going to be on the building?
Not yet, no.
They, for one thing, they haven't identified a future tenant yet.
Well, I understand that, but it doesn't necessarily have to, it doesn't have to say McDonald's or Starbucks or what.
Right.
But I just want to know, you know, what are they thinking from signage?
We assume that signage would be, after there was a tenant that would meet the ordinances to what it was required.
Where would you place the
Where would you
signage?
put it?
I haven't quite honestly looked at the sign ordinance. We would hope that two signs would be allowed, one on each roadway. But as I said, I have not looked at the sign ordinance, and since there's no tenant, we just haven't considered the signage at this point.
Well, typically for a corner lot, there usually are at least one or two signs.
Yeah, typically, I'm not an expert on our sign ordinance. You know, I'm not the person who works with it day to day, but this is a corner lot, so I believe they can do 2 ground signs. But certainly there's one that's permitted is larger. That's probably going to want to go here,
Right.
being on the corner,
Needs a larger
and they're going to
building.
want probably a sign on one or both building faces.
Yeah. Can we, is that okay with everyone? I have one other issue. I would like to at least ask the architect, what type of articulation are you going to put on the south and the east side there of that building to meet the concerns? What type of articulation? Are you
Well,
gonna put?
we would do some additional, we have our building has some accent masonry at the base on these 2 elevations. We continue that around and to do some big detailing in the brick above.
Okay. Well, what's the pleasure of the planning commission?
I understand that you want to, you think the building director, I mean, the building director, the planning director can approve the various items on final. Again, I think you said the south and east wall, the architecturally, we're looking for features. Do you feel comfortable with Brent doing that? And I do, but I'm just,
I do too, but I also agree. I remember when we used to talk about drive-through restaurants, that we had a rule of thumb that we were not going to put them on anything that was less than an acre in size. This one is 9/10 of an acre. I think it's going to be really tight going through that drive-through, and if it's going to be a successful operation, I think you want something. There's no landscaping even in there along that drive-through.
no room for it.
Yeah, no room. So I don't have a problem if we put it in as a condition of what we want in the resolution, but I'm only one person, so. Let's hear from some other commissioners on this item. Mr. Abhidian.
About the radius, the turning radius on that corner there. The concern that it's so tight, I'm thinking that maybe it would be for the benefit of the applicant or the actual
Tenant.
little tenant to actually maybe put some steel bollards there at the wall to prevent any kind of damage to the wall and future, I mean, that can be a location that can receive impact.
Mr. Appidian, there are 3 bollards
There are.
right there.
Okay.
There's no bollards against that.
Right, so that's the side that I was referring to,
Okay.
the side of the masonry wall. I mean, that's something that is I think it's a high potential for impact, being that it's so tight. Are there any geometrics to indicate the radius of that? Is that like 25-foot radius or even tighter?
I can tell you the traffic engineer
They reviewed
looked at the
Okay.
geometrics. I don't know if it was shown on any of the plans that the plan was received.
I guess,
It's actually, it looks like it's on sheet C dash 3.0. 10-foot radius.
And
it's pretty sharp.
like,
Well, I guess worst comes to worst, and you had a huge SUV, you'd certainly want some warning that that was coming up, because you wouldn't want to try to back up once you were in line, so. I don't know.
I wonder if huge SUVs have problems maneuvering, this is something that they're used to. I'm not defending this design, but I'm just thinking, we've got 9.5-foot wide parking spaces. A lot of communities have 9-foot wide parking spaces. I've got to think that a large SUV is going to have issues, maybe in a 9.5, certainly in a 9 in other communities.
Right.
So they're, that. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I guess I'm trying to say I wouldn't
I'm thinking-
drive a large SUV, is what I'm trying to say.
I would park outside and go in and place.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
If not the first time, the second time to learn that.
Yeah.
Anyone else in the commission?
I'll just take my 2 cents on this issue. I don't know if a tenant has been selected yet. I don't know if a tenant has approved this footprint yet. But quite honestly, the notch that they've created in the southeast corner of the building, if that was moved another foot to the west, would it be a deal breaker? I don't really think so, but again, I don't know. And if that would improve the turning radius or increase the the inside radius of that turn, that's a pretty simple fix.
Is that, let's ask the applicant, is that wall scheduled for any, is that the wall that's going to
That's
be
new.
changed? It's
Yeah.
new?
Yeah, that's a new.
No, we can slide the whole thing over a couple of feet and increase that radius, because there's enough room to slide it to the west, the whole area, slide it to the west a couple of feet and increase that radius. No problem.
Like the whole building?
No, that,
Just that notch.
that's
That's
a
a
new
notch,
section, so
okay.
they can move, they
So-
can back it off a couple feet.
The addition, the hatched area is one of the addition. This-
Oh, okay.
This is the new addition.
If you go to the floor plan, Brent, it's a little easier to read, possibly.
Did anybody else visit this site? I tell you,
Numerous times before today, but.
I was there and my wife kept yelling at me. She said, "Don't drive down in there, we're gonna pick up another nail." So it really is tight over there.
Corner that way.
I'm very thankful that's being renovated.
Oh, I am too. This has been an eyesore for years.
Long
It's
time.
great.
Yeah. So just push that
Okay.
back.
So they could move.
Yeah, a couple feet, make that radius
Move the
bigger.
wall. I think that's a good solution, don't you,
Thank you,
John?
John. Excellent, John, thanks for pointing that out.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? If not, we'll bring it back to the table. I see no one in the audience wants to comment on this, so. Who wants to suggest a resolution that incorporates all this? How about you, John?
I will, I'm looking for the.
Beginning.
Page of the resolution.
Yeah, it's at the beginning.
Which one?
It's at the beginning of, okay, it's at the beginning of the item.
All right. Resolve that preliminary site plan approval pursuant to Article 8 of the zoning ordinance as requested for the proposed renovation project, including a restaurant with a drive-through located at the southeast corner of Rochester Road and Maple, 1010 East Maple, Section 34, within the IB Integrated Industrial and Business District, be granted subject to the following. Number one, provide a bicycle rack for at least 2 bicycles within 50 feet of the building entrance. Number two, provide a striped pedestrian crossing from both Rochester Road and Maple Road sidewalks to the building sidewalk. Number three, increase the sidewalks fronting Rochester Road and East Maple Road to at least 8 feet in width. Number four, extend sidewalk to the southern property boundary on Rochester Road. Number five, provide elevations and material selections for the trash enclosure. Number six, provide a lighting photometric plan, light pole details, and wall mounted lighting details at the time of final plan submission. Number seven, additional architectural details to the south and, let me say, provide additional architectural details to the south and east elevations. Number eight, rotate the trash enclosure so that the gates front more in a southwesterly direction on the site. And number nine, increase the interior radius of the drive-through at the southeast corner of the building by relocating the addition some dimension to the west.
I'll second that.
Yes, Mr.
Do we-
Stanley.
Let me just add, do we want to get specific? Do we want to increase the radius by a certain dimension, or do we want to leave that up to the applicant that he feels is an appropriate increased radius?
Mr. Bojo has designed a lot of drive-throughs. What do you think, Ben? I mean, I think it's, you know what, you're gonna be,
We'll take care of it, we'll show it.
you're gonna make it safe and convenient for large SUVs to negotiate that turn?
Yes.
Sounds like a plan.
Can I ask
Yes,
one,
please.
just clarification on number 5, which states, provide elevations and material selection for the trash enclosure. Should we say something like, that's comparable to the quality and durability of the principal building? Something to
Yes.
that
Right.
effect, so that
That's
it's,
good.
we're talking about brick and metal, or something that's comparable.
It will be the same material as the building, period.
Okay. But then that would be comparable, will be. Okay, with that, is you all
I'll
comfortable
second.
with that?
Yep, I am.
Any further discussion? Not the roll call vote, Ms. Sargent?
Can I, Chair, ask for clarification?
Yeah,
Chris'
yeah.
comments at the end are to be included on number 5?
Yes, right.
Mr. Faison?
Yes.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
Mr. Krant?
Yes.
Ms. Koopa?
Yes.
Mr. Tagle?
Yes.
Mr. Appahidian?
Yes.
Mr. Edmonds?
Yes.
Thank you very
Congratulations,
much.
look forward to it.
Thank you.
When do you anticipate occupancy?
They probably gonna get through all our approvals and permits this fall, start construction in the spring, so
Good.
next summer or fall.
Great, look forward to it. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay. The next item, number 6, is for public comment for items that are on the current agenda. Seeing no one, we'll move on to Planning Commission comment. Brett, before we start this, did you have something you'd like to talk about too, about what's coming up?
Yeah, a number of things. So, I had the fortune or misfortune of missing the last planning commission meeting, where I understand a lot of people showed up to comment. It's been for a lengthy meeting. A few, yeah. Just a reminder that where we are in terms of the status of that project, we're talking, of course, local apartments. We've yet to schedule a public hearing, which, so where we left it with them is that they're preparing a traffic study to be submitted for our review. They're gonna submit revised site plans that have been revised based on comment from the meeting, from not only residents, but also planning commission members. They're gonna hold them, they've either held or going to hold a neighborhood meeting between them, the applicant and, so they're shooting for, the next meeting I think they're gonna have is gonna be a public hearing. They're gonna bring it as far as they feel that they need to bring it based on comments, et cetera. And that's what they're gonna go with, and they're gonna seek a recommendation from the planning commission. Of course, it is a conditional rezoning application, so,
Would still have to go to the city council. If we
still have to
approved
go to the city council. Right now, they're looking at, because of timing of preparing the report and whatnot, it's, remember, we've got a kind of a wonky schedule coming up, October, November. We've got a joint planning commission council meeting the 24th. There's no planning commission the 25th, but there is one November 1st, the first Tuesday, because we didn't want back-to-back meetings, so we're at the 24th, 25th. So at this point, tentatively, we're looking at November 1st for the public hearing for this item. We've also got a public hearing coming up October 11th for the IHOP application. They revised the site plan based on comments made by the planning commission and by staff, and they feel that they're ready. They're looking for a recommendation from the planning commission. Also,
What date was that again? Could you repeat that?
October 11th,
Thank you.
yes.
October?
October 11th. Which in the cluster, or the cluster public hearing is the 27th.
Right.
For the cluster.
Right.
So, and the last thing is, remember when we had the retreat, we, staff and planning commission, city council, BDA, we developed strategies that were adopted by city council. One of the, one of the strategies was updating outdated policies and ordinances. And the zoning ordinance is, we've been keeping a list of some housekeeping items that we need to fix on the zoning ordinance. So we're actually looking at the ordinance, and there's really three types of changes we're gonna be coming to the planning commission with. One is, again, general housekeeping, items that have been identified by staff and by planning commission throughout the last couple of years. We're gonna fix those. We're looking at changes that have come about related to the master plan amendments. And then lastly, changes that were recommended by the zoning board of appeals. And we've actually, if you remember, in 2014, the ZBA Tom brought some items to the planning commission. And I'm gonna talk to Tom after the meeting and set up a meeting internally for Ed and I to talk to him about those. So in the near future, this is a priority. In the near future, we're gonna be coming before the planning commission with some proposed text amendment language.
Good. Any questions? Okay, let's begin planning commission comment tonight with Mr. Tagle.
I'm glad to hear that McClure is still interested in coming back in front of us. But other than that, I have no comments.
Mr. Faison.
I just maybe had a question. I know that, or I understand that Robert Gibbs gave a presentation for the Civic Center redevelopment. I was wondering, Don, if you, as on that steering committee, attended that meeting and had any observations?
Was there too?
Well, either one of you.
I was absent that meeting.
Oh, that's right, you're right. Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay.
Mr. Appihidian.
Just one comment about the McClure project, when the date comes up for that, we can have it scheduled in the chambers comparative. I mean,
That'd be
that might
wise.
help with
Good
it.
idea.
That's the best comment of the evening, right there.
That is good. Very perceptive.
Our joint meeting with council, when is that? what is it?
24th?
24th.
And that was scheduled almost a year ago, and at this point, I don't know what the topic or topics will be.
We have the right to suggest topics too. You know, it's a joint meeting, so if you have things you want to talk about, that's one thing.
You know, the email I got regarding that meeting asked the participants, since we've had no revenue sharing for many, many years.
Oh, you're talking about something
No,
else. That's different.
That's the retreat.
He was asking about the Troy campus.
Oh, I'm
separate
sorry.
Steering committee, yeah, right.
Okay.
But you're right. It is.
There's another,
Yeah. Did you have something else to, beside that, Mr. Hudson? Did you want to
No,
talk?
the only thing I was,
I think we're.
this approval, to be brief, this approval tonight was wonderful. That was such an eyesore,
Oh,
just
yeah.
sitting there, that almost anything would be an improvement in that corner.
And we're really fortunate to have what I'd call a cooperative architect. So, but I think we resolved a lot of the potential problems for that by our resolution too. Mr. Grant?
no, I forgot. Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, you did? Okay, sorry. Only comment is thank you, John, for your architectural eye, and really made great corrections to that site we just reviewed. Thank you.
The only thing I have, and I want to, I know the State Planning Commission, the MAP conference is the 24th, 25th, and 26th. And I just want to make a strong plea for any of you who have not become a master citizen planner. This is the ideal time to do it. You participate, it's not online, you participate with other people who are in similar circumstances, and in 3 days, you have it over with, and you're good to go from there. So I know for people who have done that, like Carlton has done that, it's a worthwhile time. And if your employer doesn't allow you, I'd like to know about that, because I'd be glad to go lobby on behalf of you, because this is community service. And what better community service than to have trained and certified planners? So I think we could do that. So I hope, right now we have Mr. Tagle is going, Mr. Krant and myself. Brent is on the steering committee, so he will definitely be there. How about anybody else from staff? Are you aware?
Paul Evans
Paul Evans.
has submitted.
Okay,
Mark Miller is, I believe, is going. He's a
Okay.
certified planner.
yes, right. But there's still room for a couple others if we had to,
Mhm.
right? Okay. Because very frankly, I know for myself, I'd be more than happy if one of the 2 or 3 people that we have who have not taken these courses, I'd be glad to step aside if they were going to go, so. Yes.
Just to make a minor correction, what you just said, the dates are the 26th, 27th, 28th of October.
26th, 27th, and 28th, yes, right.
And I forgot to mention one thing.
Yes.
I think everyone has received an email, but I just want to say for the record that it's official. Alan Motzny has been replaced with Julie Dufresne. We're sad to see Alan go, but we're thrilled that we get to know Julie a little bit better and get to work with Julie in the future. So
Yes, she certainly is a welcome face.
absolutely.
Alan has not been replaced. They
On this
shift-
board,
they shift on the rotation.
Temporarily replaced.
Alan's been doing wrong, I mean, got moved, so. Clear on
I wasn't a negative. Man. We've got
I think a positive.
We've got to work with some great staff with this from the city attorney's office over the years, and they rotate regularly. And it's a real. It's been a pleasure working with all of them.
And when McClure Street comes back, I'll be looking to Julie Dufresne to give the standard speech on decorum and that type of thing.
Yeah, I'm just glad I was here the first time that was up, because I'm
Yeah.
up to speed on that one.
Okay, I don't have anything else. Does anybody else have anything? Okay, then we are adjourned.